Hey, I'm John Cannell. Today on Preppy Kitchen, we're making a delicious, show-stopping star bread. So let's get started. Start off by warming 1 cup or 240 mils of whole milk to about 110 degrees. Pour that into the bowl of your stand mixer, fitted with a paddle attachment. Now we're gonna grab 1 packet of instant yeast, that's 1/4 ounce. Give that just a little stir, and we're gonna let this sit for about 10 minutes until it's nice and foamy. If your yeast doesn't foam up, you have to start over. Your bread will not rise. You need nice, healthy, active yeast. While my yeast is blooming, I'm gonna measure the flour out. I want 3 3/4 cups or 450 grams. I'm gonna use a scale for the most accurate results. Turn it on first. If you're using a scoop for measuring cup, that's fine. Fluff your flour up first in the canister, and then you're gonna sprinkle the flour into your measuring cup, like that, and then level it off. If you scoop with your measuring cup, way too much flour. And just a little bit more. There we go. And just like that, you're gonna get a perfect result. If you add too much flour, your star bread isn't gonna be like light and rich and cake-like. It'll be really, really bready and dry and denser, so a scale or the proper use of a measuring cup will really help you here. Towards the end of your foam time, melt 5 tablespoons of butter and grab 1/4 cup of sugar. This is not like a normal bread where you would see foam on top of that solution of water and sugar you made. It's waking up in a milk bath, the yeast is working a little bit harder, and I do see some foam, but it doesn't look crazy. You can take a look. Once foamy, add in your butter, 5 tablespoons, 1 egg, I'm cracking it into a small bowl, so I can be sure there is no shell fragment. In you go. And 1/4 cup or 50 grams of granulated sugar. Now, on top of these wet ingredients, I'm gonna add my pre-measured flour, 3 3/4 cups, and 1 teaspoon of salt. It'll be a few minutes. I often get questions about whether you can make this without a stand mixer, and of course you can. You can use a hand mixer with little dough hook spirals, or you could even make this by hand with a wooden spoon. When my kids make pizza, I just give them wooden spoons in a bowl and they mix it up and then knead by hand. You can do that too, but it is gonna be more work and you'll be here for longer. So yes, it works, but this saves so much time. This is starting to come together, but I'm gonna use a little spatula and just scrape the bowl down and bring some of this flour to the top. Once your dough starts coming together, increase speed to medium-low and let this work for about 8 to 10 minutes until you have a sticky but really elastic dough. I'll show you what that looks like. And by the way, you could call this star bread, you could call this snowflake bread, and either way it's gonna be delicious. I love making this around the holidays because it has that beautiful festive shape, but it's gonna be so good all year round, and you can make this with so many different fillings. Today we're using a simple cinnamon butter mixture, but I will show you so many more variations that you could do to make this recipe your own. Look at that, already it's coming together, but we're gonna give it some time, and in the meantime, I'm gonna clean up. A little bit of kneading later, my dough has really come together and it's so much stretchier now, but it's not sticking to my fingers. It feels sticky or tacky to the touch, but nothing's coming off. So I know it's ready to rest now. My dough needs an hour to rise and double in size, and we're just gonna transfer this into an oiled bowl. Cover it up, and into a warm and cozy place it goes until it's doubled in size. A little bit over an hour later, my dough has doubled in size. If your dough needs more time, give your dough more time. This dough is so rich and laden with butter and milk and these delicious things to enrich it and make it softer. That can slow the yeast down. Turn this out onto a pastry mat or a lightly floured surface and punch it down. We're gonna divide the dough into 4 equal pieces. So use a knife or a bench scraper, and 3 and 4. Shape each of these into a ball. Just kind of cup your hands together and pretend you're making the most amazing dinner roll ever. And here's the deal. For this star bread, you're gonna make like 4 circle layers and sandwich in between that your amazing filling. Today it's gonna be a cinnamon sugar with butter, but you could do a chocolate filling, you could do a cream cheese filling, jam, different spices. There's so many options for you, and really like anything's gonna work. In addition, like I'm just gonna use cinnamon today because my boys love a cinnamon filling, but you could use a pinch of cardamom, allspice, nutmeg. You could use pumpkin pie spice, apple pie spice. Any of these things are gonna be amazing. Just tuck those corners in, and now that it's flipped over, just shape it with your hands. These guys get rolled out into 12-ish inch circles. I'm gonna pat these down with my hand first and let them rest just a minute while I make the filling. So like I said, today is a cinnamon sugar filling. Grab half a cup or 100 grams of sugar and 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. Add that in and just give it a mix. Could you add some orange zest to this and then work the zest into the sugar to make an orange sugar with cinnamon or any other spices you want? Yes, you could. Could you do that same thing with the orange and the sugar and add cocoa powder for a chocolate orange filling? Yes, you could. It's anything you want will work as long as it's delicious. That's done. Let's roll our first circle out. I love pastry mats because they have little lines here and tell you exactly how big things are. When you roll, I like to keep the dough moving. If you want to let it stay, that's fine. Just move it in different directions. Ooh, it's so satisfying getting it into the circle. Once your dough's rolled out, grab a sheet of parchment paper or a Silpat, place that onto your lined baking sheet, and we're gonna transfer this over because we have more rolling to do. I just remembered the next step, and maybe you shouldn't use a Silpat, but if you are, we can make it work. You're just gonna be careful. I melted 3 tablespoons of butter. I'm gonna brush my dough with it, but just make sure to leave a 1/2 inch border around the edge. We're gonna sprinkle this with 1/3 of our filling. So if you're using cinnamon sugar, and if you're not, whatever else you're using. Sprinkled up, so set this aside. We're gonna roll our next round of dough and repeat that process. This seems like an intimidating, beautiful, gorgeous, show-stopping shape, but it's so easy to do, and I think it's much easier than braided bread. It rolled out really quickly, so I'm gonna carefully lift this up and plop it right on top of my other circle. Just try and line the edge up. Oops, not like that. If things aren't a perfect match, don't worry, just stretch the dough and pinch the edge together. This dough just needs to relax a little bit. Repeat the process of brushing with butter and sprinkling with your filling, and we're gonna do this 2 more times. I'm rolling out my last circle. This one's gonna be super easy as the dough is relaxed a little bit longer. Lift that up and place that onto your delicious sandwich. Grab a 3-inch round cookie cutter or a small bowl and place that right in the center. Do not press down, just place. This is just to protect the center from getting cut. Now, grab a sharp knife, and here's the deal. Yes, parchment paper, you can cut on top of it. No one cares if it gets cut. Don't you cut my silicone mats. But the silicone mat is so much more sturdy. It really held the dough together and made this way easier. Carefully, but confidently, cut this into quarters now. If you have kids at home or are struggling with part-whole relationships yourself, this is the best math lesson ever. A whole cut into quarters, and we're gonna divide these by 2 twice. So take each of these quarters, divide by 2 again, and you'll have 8 pieces. This is the kind of math that kids want to do. Just putting that out there if you're a teacher. This isn't gonna look good until we do it one more time. Divide each of these 8ths into 2, and you'll have 16. You can already see how pretty it's gonna be when these layers are exposed. And the final one. Here's the only part that might be confusing if you're reading it, but if you're watching it, it is so easy. Grab 2 pieces, twist them away from each other 3 times, then we're gonna pinch the edge together to create one of our star legs. Now repeat the process. So grab the next 2 pieces, once, twice, 3 times, pinch the edge together, and then stretch the point out to create that beautiful star shape. As you twist, it's really gonna take shape. So really, it's almost 4 times. It's like 3.5. If you have little points, just tuck them under because those could scorch or take on too much color in the bake. Once you're happy with the shape, cover loosely with a tea towel and just let this set for 25 to 30 minutes until it's noticeably puffed. In the meantime, preheat your oven to 375 and we're gonna whip up a quick egg wash. About half an hour later, my bread is noticeably puffed. Crack an egg into a small bowl. 1 egg and about a tablespoon of water. Mix it up. Brush all over with the egg wash. I'm being gentle with my star brush and using a nice delicate brush since I do not want to mangle this wonderful surface. My star bread is ready to go into the oven, 375 for 25 minutes, but after 10 minutes, I would cover this in foil so it doesn't brown too quickly. If you notice, like it's looking a little dark, get the foil out, cover it up, and just finish baking it. Then we'll give it one final touch. After baking, allow your star bread to cool for about 20 minutes, then dust with powdered sugar ever so lightly, and you're ready to enjoy. So clearly it's beautiful, but it's so delicious. This dough is beyond pillowy, soft, and tender. I hope you get a chance to make this recipe, and if you like this video, check out my bread playlist.